my parents have this rock that has been in my house for, you know, basically my entire life, but I've just never really noticed. And, I didn't know where it came from. I didn't even think to ask,
It's been
it was
on a
just,
shelf forever.
it was a doorstop for a
right,
while,
right.
That's just to kind of set up the story of when I was with my mom, taking care of her, asking her about her life, intentionally asking her questions that I'd never asked her before because I knew it was like now or never,
Yeah.
And so we started, she pulled out some albums and we started looking at one from when she was a teenager and she lived in Italy for a few years. And and when I was growing up, I always felt like that whenever she'd tell stories about that time in her life, it was like, I don't know, like legendary. Like my mom lived in Italy. That's so cool. Like Rome. She lived in Rome and was basically that the city was basically her playground. Like she'd hop on buses, she'd wander into museums, like historical sites, and she would just go wherever she wanted because it was the 70s and things were free and crime was low,
Yeah.
And so for a 13, 14-year-old girl, she could just do that with her friends. And so like even like when it would come out, especially like when she was our teacher for homeschool, and we'd learn about the Renaissance or the Roman Empire, and you could tell it wasn't just history for her, like she had been there, and so like this particular visit was she like started talking about this rock, right? And I'm like, what rock are you talking about? And I thought it was kind of like a memory thing, like
Yeah.
what's going on, And it's like, no, the rock, the one from Italy. And I'm like, what are you talking? So she goes upstairs and she brings down this crude looking like cube shaped brick, I'm like, what in the world? And this thing, that has been like holding the door open for my whole life is apparently a piece of an ancient Roman road.
The
And
Appian Way, right?
my dad thinks it's the Appian Way, which is one of the most ancient, like
Totally.
major Roman roads,
Infrastructure
right?
roads. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, uh, like, the saying, like all roads lead to Rome. Like
Yes,
that's the one they're
that's the
talking
one.
about, right?
Right.
It's like goes across Europe or whatever. I don't know how long it is.
Yeah.
And so they used to call it the Queen of Roads.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was just like the highway,
Yeah. Yeah.
And she snatched a brick from it as like a souvenir because she was leaving Italy soon, and she wanted something to remember. And yeah, and obviously that's like a huge no-no now, and it probably was back then, but they didn't have TSA checking your bags.
Yeah, for context, I was a Latin nerd, and so I think I think the Appian Way has been like just like it's like 300 BC or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around forever, and it's like hundreds of miles.
Right.
It's huge.
Yeah, and
she was just like,
we have had a piece of it in our house for the last.
That's so crazy.
For our whole lives. She's had it since she's like 15.
That's amazing.
And
Thank
so
goodness no one
she
ever
brings
threw it away.
Right, right. And my dad knew what it was, so I think he knew it was meaningful and cool. Like it's like Indiana Jones, like this belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
But she brought it down that night, and it just kind of messed with me because she's telling the story, and again, probably not for the first time, but it was like the first time I'm actually hearing it. Like I'm sure I knew that at one point, but for whatever reason I just forgot. But like now, like today, she can't tell that story anymore,
Right.
And that version of her is like, the person wandering Rome, grabbing a piece of history like it's nothing, she, that's gone in a way, and even the homeschool mom version of her, telling me about Rome, that's gone too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a little emotional, but it's like,
yeah,
it's weird because the stone, the rock, right? The
Mhm.
stupid cobblestone is still like doing its thing, like
It's still around.
it's still solid, it's still exactly what it was, you
Yeah.
know, but my mom isn't.
Yeah.
And and she's the one forgetting the story, which feels kind of backwards to me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the thing, it's like the thing that is supposed to fade, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
not the person, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but that's just like how it goes. Like we age, we deteriorate, and we don't get to hold on to our whole story forever. And these are the things that I think about,
Yeah.
like, and it just leaves, like we just leave pieces of ourselves like lying around, in people's
Mm.
houses and in people's memories and weird little things like that we just suddenly start caring about
Yeah.
in a way that we didn't used to. And it just makes me wonder, like if that's what matters in the end, like not how much of the road we remember or even travel, like you're saying, like,
Yeah.
but what part of us remains, for others to walk with. Like that's what matters.